Yeah, Maz, yeah, I know what you mean. Anyway, good work, dudes. I'm gonna take a break. We'll begin space news at like the top of the hour. Good work. Let me find a video for you guys to watch while I'm away, and we'll start up space news. The space news cover UFOs. I mostly deal with rockets and like known flying objects. Mostly. Let me see. You used to work for NASA? No, Schmong, not used to. I've worked with NASA doing Twitch things. I've worked with them, like done panels at TwitchCon with people from NASA. So I know a lot of people that work there. I don't work for them technically, but yeah, I'm a STEM streamer, dude. I try to teach people about space and science. That's why we're like building cities in Minecraft, so I can teach people like how cities go together. That's part of the reason why I like filling everything in, you know? Let's see. I'm looking around. That's dope, man. Thanks, right on, dude. Yeah, I don't really deal with the UFO side of things, but I can explain, like, if you see something, usually I can figure out what it is. A lot of people just don't understand what a satellite is and where it goes and what it does, and like 90% of the time it's a satellite. Like, it's just a satellite moving around. Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk, you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty much just a satellite. Alright, here. We'll put on Apollo 8 debrief. NASA archival footage. Here. Alright, I'll be back in a little bit.
You cycle your zero optic switch prior to beginning P-52.
Debrief. Apollo 8.
Roger. We're going to see if we can find some stars here before we do the P-52.
Hold on. What do I think of the UFO stuff? Space is a dirty place, dude. Honestly, it's a dirty place. There's all kinds of crap floating around up there. It's not just empty space. There's rocks, there's dust, there's chunks of ice, solid oxygen, nitrogen. There's all kinds of crap up there. It's not clean. Just like if you go into a forest, it's not clean. Even a freshly cut lawn is like, that looks really nice and uniform, it's still dirty. There's still a lot of crap in there. Does that mean there's not worms in the ground and stuff? Like, not saying there's worms in space, but there could be worms in space. What I'm saying is that, yeah, a lot of people think, like, you know, you see like crap floating around up there, like, oh my god, it's alien. No, it's probably just a rock. You know, it's funny because like I see people like they come to me and they're like, EJ, I saw this up in space. That's a UFO. I'm like, no, it's a rock. It's just a piece of dirt. Dirt is up there. It's a dirty place up there. Space isn't empty. You know, there's planets and stuff floating around in it. You remember that part? So like that's like as absurd to me as like us walking through, like, picture like me walking through a forest with like a viewer, and the viewer looks at like a rock that you see in the middle of the forest and they're like, that's someone's house. That's aliens. It's like, no, that's a boulder. It's not a boulder. It's a rock. It's a dirty place, dude. There's all kinds of crap up there. I mean, the videos of the glowing triangles above Navy carriers and things caught on video. Yeah, I don't know. I can't speak to it, man. I try not to be an expert on everything, you know what I mean? I have no idea. I can tell you what a rocket does, though. Does that help? Anyway, give me like 20 minutes. I'll be back. I'm just going to make myself some food. All good, man. It's a mineral sample. I'll be back in a little bit. Watch the debrief, Apollo 8.
And it's sort of in a paraphrase of a
To
poem.
debrief is to gather useful information after an event that might have gone unreported during the event itself, and to start to draw some conclusions.
You read me out, Apollo 8.
You're right and clear, Jack.
Okay, it was the night before Christmas and way out in space. The Apollo 8 crew had just won.
A machine may be said to be born when it first performs a useful function. This then is the birth of a machine and the beginning of an achievement. 363 feet tall, weighing just under 6.25 million pounds. Capable of 180 million horsepower, the first stage engines came from Louisiana. The second stage came from California, as did the third. They were proved out for the mission in Alabama. The vehicle destined to make the moon touchdown in a later Apollo mission comes from New York. The guidance and navigation equipment within the narrow instrument ring grew in Wisconsin, was checked in Massachusetts. Electromechanicals within the command and service modules are from Florida. Display systems from New Hampshire. The astronaut spacesuits are from Delaware. The mission commander was born in Indiana, grew up in Arizona. On its moon voyage, it will be controlled from Texas, serviced by computers in Maryland, splashdown near Hawaii. The giant crawler on which it rides was made in Ohio. The genius and sweat of literally the entire nation ride the mission. The dream of man, the long, impossible dream to reach out to the moon, is coming true. These men will lead the way. Colonel Frank Borman, Navy Captain Jim Lovell, Lieutenant Colonel Bill Anders. The successful conclusion, the happy ending, is history, but gaps remain. Importantly, part of the task of filling those gaps belongs to each individual. A self-debriefing to evaluate the larger significance of the event, which might have gone unnoticed in the excitement. For some, this re-evaluation has already begun. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale.
The mission of Apollo 8, quite apart from its significant scientific meaning, stimulated an immense rejuvenation of the spirit of mankind. And that spirit needed rejuvenation. A year featured by 2 grim assassinations, by riots, by racial and social strife, and a baffling attempt to end the war left men with a dull sense of frustration. Then at the end of such a year came the Apollo 8, an incredible adventure, when 3 intrepid spirits circled the moon, fascinating the imagination of man. Their willingness to stake their lives on the enterprise, the infinite perfection of detail which worked precisely, and their deep spiritual understanding of the greater world in which God presides, communicated a new sense of man's greatness and gave the world a fresh sense of meaning.
Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. Ptolemy suggested that the Earth might be round. Columbus gave a practical demonstration of the fact. If any lingering doubt remains, now man has seen with his own eyes.
I have a beautiful view of the S4B and the Earth here all in one. I'll try to get a picture for you.
Okay.
The S4B is the 3rd stage rocket engine. Droplets of its vented fuel scatter around it. The speed of the spacecraft, outward bound, brings us face to face with another acceleration, a new fact of life. Historian Arthur Schlesinger, Jr.
The salient fact of our age is the fantastic speed up in the velocity of history. It was as recently as 1903 that the Wright brothers soared for a moment over the sand at Kitty Hawk. And today, 65 years later, within the same lifetime of many men, astronauts fly around the moon. And now the velocity of history is carrying us into a new phase in the human adventure. No one knows where this new phase will end, in what triumph or tragedy. But it is clear that the flight of Apollo 8 begins a new epoch in the history of man.
Historian Arthur Schlesinger, Jr. Part of beginning an epoch, in the present instance, is keeping house for 6 days in a space about the size of the back seats of 3 station wagons packed for a family vacation. As you watch motion pictures taken on board, you will hear comments relayed to Houston on the same subject.
Roger, thank you.
Happiness is bacon squares for breakfast.
If you don't eat them, I'll bring them back. We'll polish them off here.
Okay, Houston, Apollo 8 here. I stand corrected. William had 1 bear seat. He didn't tell me about it. He snuck it.
Part of the astronaut's working gear is a helmet holding earphones and microphone in position. It's called a Snoopy hat.
Yeah, you're looking pretty small down there now, Houston.
We're carrying a big stick, though.
Just barely got clear lake.
And your nozzle temperatures, Bill, have dropped from about 94 to around 66.
This is Mission Control. It stands as the first rank of the unnumbered and innumerable Apollo team. Flight controllers man the consoles. They watch a continuing readout of every system in the capsule, 3 shifts around the clock. All flight controllers speak to the astronauts through one voice, the capsule communicator of each shift. He is an astronaut himself, best suited to sense the needs, the stresses, the preoccupations, the environment of the men so far away. The line of communications is spread round the world. Land bases must be supplemented by ships carrying the special equipment needed to keep the channels open. Aircraft become flying transmitters and receivers. Other nations help with deep space communications. Australians join the team in Canberra, Spaniards in Madrid. The 3rd base is in California. Men, women, and machines spread round the world. This team is knit by faith, an acceptance of responsibility for perfect performance. It stretches back through the ranks to each workman involved in American industry. They kept faith in a spirit of dedication to excellence. The successful completion of the mission is a witness to how they came through. And once achieved, this dedication may be applied in other directions. Henry Ford made comment.
The courageous voyage of the Apollo 8 astronauts has done more than extend our knowledge of the universe. It has enlarged the spirit of man. If we can successfully challenge the mysteries and dangers of outer space, surely we can move confidently now to achieve a better, more peaceful life for our fellow humans here and throughout the planet Earth.
Mr. Henry Ford. Not all giant eyes and ears on Earth are turned toward the spacecraft. The sensing machines of the Space Particle Alert Network face the sun. From our life-giving sun streams a hail of infinitely small pieces of matter. On Earth, we are shielded from them by our cloak of atmosphere and our magnetosphere, the integument of Van Allen belts. The men and women of SPAN monitor sunspot and solar flare activity, looking for clues to an imminent rise in the stream of potentially hazardous space particles. The team grows wider, deeper, stronger. History repeats itself in paraphrase. This is the shot seen round the world. This is the first shot of Earth, live on television. The mission was conducted in the plain sight of the entire world, literally.
Happy birthday, Mother.
Back in 1961, when Apollo goals were first set, President Kennedy said, "Whatever mankind must undertake, all men must freely share." Apollo 8 remained true to that pledge. On television, it gave us a new look at the moon and a new look at ourselves. This is Thomas J. Watson, Jr.
10 years ago, it seemed probable that Russia would make this flight before us and would make a moon landing first as well. With the Apollo 8 flight, it becomes obvious that we have moved into the lead. We can be thankful that the United States has shown the world once again that it can accomplish any tasks it decides upon.
Thomas J. Watson, Jr., chairman of the board of IBM. Direct from the deep space tracking antenna in Madrid, these pictures were passed along to the Eurovision network, to London, Paris, Rome, West Germany, Scandinavia. They were seen in Warsaw, Prague, in Moscow. Citizen of the world, winner of the Nobel Prize for Peace, Dr. Ralph Bunche.
Apollo 8 and those stout-hearted astronauts have given to mankind a new and limitless perspective in the universe, and to the Earth an added dimension of proximity and neighborliness in the solar system. The epic flight of Apollo 8 in cracking the moon barrier demonstrates that man now has the capability to soar as high and as far as his dreams may project.
Dr. Ralph Bunche of the United Nations.
Okay, Houston. The moon is essentially gray. No color. Looks like plaster of Paris, or sort of a grayish beach.
Christmas Eve. The date of a mission is dictated by launch windows, which open and close in a long cycle. If you miss one, you wait. The December window opened the 21st, closed the 27th. So the date and hour of the Apollo 8 mission was really determined billions of years ago when the celestial clock was first set in motion. It timed out to the Christmas season. Bob Hope reported a Vietnam reaction.
All joy, believe me, all joy. The men I spent Christmas with have a lot on their minds, but the Apollo 8 trip turned out to be as important as anything. What the 3 astronauts did rubbed off on a lot of guys. Everybody grew a little tall, and that was double if you were away from home. And I think it'll be months before we know how much it meant to all of us and all the people of the world.
Bob Hope. It was Christmas on Earth and on the moon.
I know my own impression is that it's a vast, lonely, forbidding type existence or expanse of nothing. It looks rather like clouds and clouds of pumice stone. And it certainly would not appear to be a very inviting place to live or work. Jim, what have you thought most about? Well, Frank, my thoughts were very similar. The vast loneliness up here on the moon is awe-inspiring, and it makes you realize just what you have back there on Earth.
Wasteland, desolate, inhospitable, in unremitting procession. The apparent speed at which you see these pictures is not real time. Only a technical camera was carried on the mission. Altitude about 70 miles, shot with a long lens.
think I can say without contradiction there's been a mighty long dry spell up here.
I guess you can say anything you like without contradiction.
This film was taken through an optical sighting instrument on board the spacecraft. Two separate images converge on the single eyepiece. It was intended only for space navigation. Navigation in space requires 3 dimensions instead of 2. Scientific sextant observations made on Apollo 8 were a practical, potentially vital gathering of scientific data. Taking the longer view of the scientific value of the mission, comment was made by Dr. Leo Goldberg, astronomer.
I believe the Apollo 8 mission will ultimately prove to be of enormous scientific importance as a vital step that had to be taken before men actually land on the moon. Once they do, the exploration of the moon is bound to give us crucial information on how the moon and other bodies in the solar system were formed. Furthermore, the mission proved that we now have the capability to move large and complicated scientific equipment around in space and to deploy it almost anywhere we wish to in the space between the Earth and the moon. I find this to be a very thrilling prospect indeed. But no matter what happens in the future, the voyage of Apollo 8 will be looked back upon as the mission that proved we could really operate in space on a large scale.
Astronomer Leo Goldberg of Harvard University. The condition of zero gravity, when you get accustomed to it, has some very practical applications. The command module on Apollo 8, serial number 103, did not change at Christmas, but there was talk of reindeer and Santa Claus.
Right, he was looking for a chimney on 103 here, but he didn't see any.
You could have left the hatch unlocked for him.
I'll think about that one.
Think real hard, Jim. ECOM says he could have slipped down the steam duct.
Sounds good about that time, Joe. It was boiling water. God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And from the crew of Apollo 8, we close with
Isaac Asimov is a professor of biochemistry and a prolific writer of science fiction. For many years, he's been thinking in terms of an Earth to Moon to Earth trip. Asimov has a special point of view.
The feat of Apollo 8 is of peculiar interest to myself because it places me in the unaccustomed position of being over-conservative. In 1939, I wrote a story describing, in essence, this flight. I placed it in 1973. I suppose if someone had asked me then, do you really suppose people will fly around the moon and back to Earth by 1973? I would have answered, not really, but it makes a good story. Well, they did it in 1968, and I am more happy than I can say.
Isaac Asimov stands with one foot in the world of science and one foot in fantasy to take a fictional look at the future, and underestimates. With both feet in the practical world that now includes outer space, a comment from the returning space capsule during a TV transmission starts us off in another direction.
We have you about 180,000.
Looking at yourself. All right, you're all looking at yourselves as seen from 180,000 miles out in space.
Mike, what I keep imagining is if I'm some lonely traveler from another planet, what I think about the Earth from this altitude, whether I think it'd be inhabited or not.
Friday, December the 27th. Re-entry, splashdown, acquisition, recovery. The last 15 minutes of the flight began at a speed of almost 25,000 miles an hour. Then, only 5 miles from the appointed rendezvous in the Pacific, it ended, speed 0. If a machine may be said to be born when it performs a useful function, perhaps it is said to die when that function is fulfilled. And having died, it will be enshrined next to its still young ancestors, the aircraft of Orville and Wilbur Wright, Lindbergh's Spirit of St. Louis. But this is not an end, far from it. It is part of a much longer plan. It has been estimated that at some time or another during the flight of Apollo 8, over 1 billion people all over the face of the globe were tuned into the spacecraft by television or radio. The experience was most widely shared. The astronauts return to the world of men, but there's more. A week to the day after the Apollo 8 splashdown, another Apollo spacecraft had taken up its position on Pad 39 at Cape Kennedy. The countdowns by calendar and clock have begun to bring it to the same moment at which we first saw this Apollo 8 the night before it was born. As launch windows open and close, the next missions move forward. 2 test flights of the lunar landing vehicle, and then the proposed landing on the moon. And plans are in the making now which include flybys of other planets, visits to what Dr. Bunch calls neighbors. Eric Hoffer is a writer, until recently a working longshoreman, whose deep insights into the nature of man have stirred the thinking of many. Let me quote Eric Hoffer's words. "I always felt that man is a stranger on this planet, a total stranger. I always played with the fancy that maybe a contagion from outer space was the seed of man. Hence our preoccupation with heaven, with the sky, with the stars, with a God who was somewhere out there in outer space. It's a kind of homing impulse. We are drawn to where we came from. And I'm just tickled to death that this thing is being done by squares, you know, by average Americans, not by these pretentious intellectuals, because this is the great genius of the average Americans. They take something momentous and make an unmomentous thing out of it. And by the time they are through with it, traveling into space and to the distant stars will become routine. This is why America is an ambiguity in the world, because we make it so that there are no exceptional persons required to do anything.
It's pretty well said. Pretty well said. See, fellas? That's what I was talking about yesterday for Space News. You gotta want to do it. That's so freaking important. It's the Penguin. That's right. That's pretty good, huh? Apollo 8 in retrospect. Anyway, Schmog, you still here, buddy? It is not copyright infringement to be playing this video, other videos you show, or is there a loophole? It's all public domain because it's NASA footage, Halo. Yeah, that's it. It's public domain. NASA footage you can restream. Sure, no problem. How many of these Space Newses have you done? Schmong, I've been doing Space News every 5 days a week for about 4 hours per segment since 2015. I stream 10 hours a day, dude. Been missing out. All right, so Schmong, we're gonna start off Space News with a little bit of discussion. So, what are you trying to get at? I saw you talking in chat, but I was eating, so I didn't really catch most of it. So I saw you link all that stuff, and that's all fine and dandy. Like I didn't read it. I'll be honest with you. I had some really, really excellent bacon mac and cheese. If you please understand the distraction, like, you know what I'm saying? So what are you on about? What are you trying to prove? That's right, Phil. You've been at my side. You, Thomas, and the rest of you guys have been by my side. It's freaking awesome. Like, Schwang, I want you to give me one sentence. Give me one sentence of what you're trying to prove. Like, not a paragraph. Try to explain it in one sentence, and then we'll talk, okay? Well, let's narrow this down. So people are telling me I'm talking about a conspiracy, but I'm not sure how video from a Navy aircraft is a fake conspiracy. Okay. I can't speak for everybody else in the chat. What I can do is speak for myself. These UFO videos, right, that you see. Okay, so, here's the thing. I don't just teach people about spaceflight. One of the things that's super important to learn about spaceflight is being able to critically think. Now, Schmung, I'm not saying by any means that you don't know how to do that. No way. So, let's critically think about this. So, the first thing here is that, you know, what's this footage of all this unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UAPs, UFOs? What is all that stuff? We don't know. And we're probably never going to know, right? Because they're not going to tell us. So, I don't even bother trying to figure that one out. I think that's a waste of time, because we're not... They ain't going to tell us, man. They ain't going to tell us for our security or something dumb like that. So I think you're right in that regard. So, let's do some logical deductions. What could this be? So, first and foremost, could be aliens. It's possible. The universe is big enough that there could be... There's definitely life out there, right? Obviously. There's definitely life out there. There's got to be. The universe is way too big. I mean, look at these James Webb pictures. See how big this motherfucker is? It's huge, right? So there's got to be something out there. What it is, I don't know. What does it look like? I don't know. It could be Klingons. Could be the Flood from Halo. God, I hope it's not that. That would really suck. Could be bugs from Clandathu. Who knows? I have no idea, right? Coffee. So that could be a possibility. Second possibility, it could be a weapons system. We could be looking at some type of weapons system, some type of thing that can warp space and time, whatever. With the amount of money that we spend on weapons, I'd believe that. Sure, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we pour insane amounts of money into defense spending. Everybody knows that. This is what the States does. It's like to the tune of $600 billion a year or something. Telling me that $600 billion is for aircraft carriers and stuff? Like, I mean, actually, ships are expensive, not boats. I don't want any squids getting on my tail. So it's possible. Possible it could be a weapon system. Could be a weapon system of some type. So, okay, let's think about that for a second, right? If it is a weapon system, why would the government admit that it doesn't know what it is? Well, there is compartmentalization. That is a huge thing with the military. Compartmentalization is one of your best countermeasures against data leaks and security breaches. Basically, you don't need to know it. You don't need to know it. That's why, you know, if you're in the military and the guy and your superior officer or commanding officer or whatever says, go over there and dig that hole. You don't need to know why that hole needs to get dug. Just go and dig the hole. So there is compartmentalization. So if, like, the Navy says, I don't know what this thing is, it could be the Air Force. Why would the Air Force tell the Navy what it is? That's just an opportunity for like a black project or something to get leaked. So there is compartmentalization. So them saying they don't know what it is isn't necessarily conspiracy. And I'm not saying that it couldn't be aliens. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. There's a bunch of different logical answers for this, right? And now the third answer is that nobody knows what the frick that is. Could be an enemy. Could be an enemy vehicle. Could be Chinese. Could be Russian. Could be. I mean, it's possible. But here's the thing. How often do governments say that we don't know what this stuff is? Have you ever heard the government say that? I didn't want to say that because that admits weakness. Government doesn't like admitting that they're incompetent, even though sometimes, most of the time, they're incompetent, right? See what I'm talking about? There's a bunch of different things that it could be. And once again, I'm not saying that there's a conspiracy. There could be a conspiracy. There could not be a conspiracy. But it goes back to the first thing that I said. At the end of the day, we're not going to know. They ain't going to tell us. Even if it was aliens, they wouldn't tell us. You ever see Men in Black? They won't tell us. It's the government. That's what they do, right? Like, hey, thanks for the sub, man. Right on. Like, they don't know. They have no idea. Or they do. Or they don't. I don't know, man. The point is like, it'd be really nice to know that there's somebody else out there, that I would take solace in that, but I'll be honest with you. If we could just consider another point. You know, if we go and we figure out that there's aliens out there, I'll be honest with you, I want to be the ones discovering life. I don't want to be discovered by another species from another planet. That doesn't end well, usually. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, bro? Like, I want to be the one discovering another species. I don't want to get discovered by some alien race. That would suck. That means we're about to get probably curb stomped. You know what I mean? Incompetence could be better than the truth. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. Yeah, Sadie, yeah, absolutely. You know, it's just, I don't know, dude. I don't know. Could be anything. But at the end of the day, I don't really pay this stuff too much mind because they ain't going to tell us. You know, like, it's a waste of time. That's why I don't get, Schmong, that's why I don't get into too much about discussing UFOs and stuff, because at the end of the day, people can bring concrete points to the table, and you did. That's fine. You can bring concrete points to the table, but there's no way to prove it. There's no way to prove it. You know what I mean? So if there's no way to really conclusively prove it one way or another, because no one's ever going to admit to that, you know, either A, we don't know what this is, or B, it might be aliens, or B, it is, or C, it is aliens, right? Like, it's just semantics at that point. You know what I'm saying? You think NASA would tell us if they knew? Maybe. I guess it kind of depends on the circumstance. Don't you think it would really be contextual? Like, okay, say, I'll give you an example. So say, like, NASA is up at the space station and they see a UFO fly up next to the space station, right? And go, and, like, abduct a piece of the space station and take it with them, right? They wouldn't admit that. They wouldn't admit that at all. Right? They'd be like, no, that's some swamp gas or whatever, right? However, if we go to Mars and we land on the surface of Mars and we find life on Mars, yeah, of course they'll admit that. See what I'm saying? It's a contextual thing, don't you think? Interesting how we point our instruments on finding intelligent life away from Earth. 7, I guess I never thought of it that way. I feel like it would leak if NASA knew. Yeah, Fragment. And that goes, yeah, exactly, dude. That's what I was going back to, Schmong. That's that when I left on my break, dude. There is so much crap up there. There's dirt, there's rocks, blah 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 blah. NASA doesn't know what all that stuff is, and it's impossible to track all of it because space is full of crap. There's all kinds of stuff up there. I know, like, if we look at my desktop here, it looks like there's not a lot of stuff up there. It looks like it's just the shuttle, the space station, and Earth, right? Dude, there is all kinds of crap in this picture. Rocks, dust, ice. There's all kinds of garbage. There's bolts and nuts left that fell off the space station. That happens, you know? And if one is in the right orbit relative to the space station, to the untrained eye, it'll look like the thing is going and hovering in place for a second in front of the space station and then going away. You know? There's all kinds of crap up there. There's no way to keep track of all of it, and nor does NASA know what any of it is. You can't track a freaking pebble that's going through space that's that big. That's impossible. Not even our best stuff can do stuff like that, because there's millions of them. There's micrometeorites all around in space. James Webb got hit by one of them on its way out to the moon. And the other thing is that there's all kinds of crap up there that we left up there. There's all kinds of space junk. Everybody knows about that, you know? Only 2 SPACs today. Yep. I had someone say a photo I took of the ISS was fake because the background was black. Yeah. Ugh. Okay. That's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, Fragment. That sounds like Kyle. That sounds like a troll, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Have you seen the new LMH Ferrari preview? I have not. I'll check that out in a little bit. But yeah, Schmong, like, at the end of the day, dude, like, if people want to go on conspiracy stuff, like, dude, I'm not saying you're wrong. The truth is that I have no idea if you're wrong or right. I kind of hope you're wrong, but you might be right. I don't know. Like, that's how I usually go about it, dude. Dude, what I do know is that there's all kinds of crap up there. There's all kinds of stuff. One of it could be like aliens. I don't know. It could be a UFO. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's possible. I'm telling you that I have no idea. And if we're going to be scientific about it, you got to prove it. It ain't about what you know, it's what you can prove. That's a fundamental principle of rocket science. Like, it ain't what you know, Jake, it's what you can prove. You know, I'm surgical with this thing, Jake. Do you think the industry will continue to grow? Do you think SpaceX will consolidate the launch industry? Well, Livid, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one either. But Livid, I can tell you the best way to hedge your bet against doing something like that. So Livid, that's part of the reason why I say NASA needs to have their own in-house space program that is redundant to SpaceX. Because what if that happens? A purely commercial spaceflight endeavor. So if NASA just decides to rely on commercial, right? If NASA just decides to rely on commercial, then the theoretical endpoint of that is either NASA enforces an antitrust law in space, in which case we go right back to stagnating, like what happened in the 90s. We go right back to a stagnant economy in space. Or you go all government, in which case when the government decides that they don't want any reason to go to the moon, for instance, they can just pull the plug on the program. Livid, I think the way to go forward is having both of those things. I honestly think that is the most sustainable way forward, and that should address most problems, you know, like, could SpaceX consolidate the market? Could they corner the market on launching into space? Yes, that is very possible. Their rockets are way better than everybody else's. And I'm not saying that ULA's rocket is bad or anything like that, but it's very possible that your rocket doesn't need to be better. It needs to be less expensive, right? It's true that NASA does some mission just to create jobs, not to actually advance. Yeah, Schmong, that's a whole nother can of worms, dude. Yeah. I mean, obviously NASA's a jobs program. The Apollo program is a jobs program. My beef with that is getting stuff done. You can have a jobs program, and your jobs program can create thousands of freaking jobs. I don't really care if they want to do that. I don't care if you want to ride the pork train like that. As long as stuff gets done, I really don't give a frick. You know what I mean? It's kind of where I'm at on that. I don't think giving Elon control of NASA is a good idea, man. Elon's awesome, right? He's awesome. Dude, I like anybody that has the balls to try and launch something into space. Obviously not for weapons, right? Like, I understand ICBMs and nuclear deterrence and all that other stuff. I get it. But, dude, I don't want an all-commercial space program. I don't think that's a good idea. And I don't want an all-government space program either. We've seen the logical end goals of a market where someone corners the market. Microsoft is a good example of that, right? We've seen what happens where the logical end conclusion to a fully commercial space program is that someone's going to corner the market and the competition will eventually stagnate. But simultaneously, at the same time, I can give you a historical example as to why only government space programs can stagnate. The space race ended. Pretty good example. Am I right? The only real way that we can safeguard against, further space sustainability and not wait another 50 years to go to the next celestial body, right? Or just to go back to the one that we've already been to, is to have both of these things. I don't see any other logical conclusion forward. Like, we could do all commercial, and that would be more beneficial in the short term, but that could have long-term implications. Or we could go all government, and that would not be beneficial in the short term. And the long-term implications is that we get further in space, but it happens at a snail's pace because pork projects and stuff like that. Commercial versus government is how that system balances out. And Schmog, my example for this, and everybody else, my example for this is the post office. The post office exists. Every country has a government post service. Every country does, despite UPS, FedEx, DHL if you're overseas, despite there being a commercial carrier as well. Now, here's the thing. The post office does stuff that UPS can't, like passports, stuff like that. There's all kinds of stuff that your local, all kinds of background logistical stuff that the post office does that's not just moving mail around, right? It's a little more complicated than that. And I find that always comparing NASA to SpaceX is like comparing the U.S. Post Office to FedEx. That doesn't really work that way. Yes, they both are involved with moving mail around. But does that mean that FedEx is a redundant source to the post office? No way. Not a chance. Post office does things that FedEx doesn't. FedEx does things that the post office doesn't, like get the mail to you on time. No, I understand the need for both. It was just a joke. See what I'm saying? That way wasn't enforced via like a jobs program or anything like that. That's just kind of the natural conclusion that the post office and FedEx and UPS and all these companies came to. That's just the logical conclusion. That system occurred organically. There wasn't nobody had an incessant need to say, oh no, all FedEx or all UPS or no, all post office, no competition. That kind of naturally came about that way. And I think that that's a very good example because what is moving the mail but another logistical service, right? Moving stuff into space is just a logistics service, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing it for like scientific purposes. That's where NASA is more akin to the post office because the post office does a lot of municipal services. And in the case of NASA, the municipal services are things like James Webb, Perseverance rover, Curiosity rover, New Horizons, Kepler, and K2, stuff like that. Cassini-Huygens, even though that's been gone for a little while. All those scientific missions are that municipal service. There's also Landsat 8, Landsat 9, ICESat 1, ICESat 2, all the climate monitoring satellites. There's goes R, goes S, goes T. Those are weather satellites and stuff. And those they're monitoring the climate, right? But they don't monitor the climate for they monitor climate change and stuff, but all those satellites are services that give you meteorological data to like airports and stuff so airplanes can fly correctly. You know what I mean? So they have a good weather report. That's what those satellites are there for. They're supporting infrastructure down on the ground. That's what I mean. I don't think it would be very wise for NASA to not have an in-house way to get to low Earth orbit. Because what if we need another climate change satellite and somebody doesn't want to because they don't like climate change that owns spaceflight? I'm not saying like Elon or anybody else does that, but that could be a theoretical scenario in the future. Once again, you got to remember that I can't predict the future, but this is more about safeguarding against these things. If we safeguard against them now, it's not going to happen. Now is it? I agree, Lego. Yep. Yeah, Phil, we don't talk about her in here. Who told me to see last? Vickers, okay. What's up, dude? There's aliens, dude. I not the one, though, Nanu. Thanks for the bits, man. I appreciate it. If that was your last, I'm not even sure if that was the last. Commercial has to make money. Science will always come second to that. Mm-hmm. Exactly, Jay. And that's the reason why we should, that's not a good idea. Everybody is pining, launching these climate satellites on SpaceX's rockets for cheaper than in-house and than the government stuff. Well, first of all, yeah, no crap. Thanks for that one. Thanks for that shocking revelation. Somebody in the commercial market can do it for cheaper. Wow, I know. Big revelation there. But there is other implications than that. So say like somebody comes along that's...
Hey, we forgot to get the big box on your break.
Okay.
Can we do that soon?
Yeah. I'll go on break in a little bit.
Alright.
I lost my train of thought. Can I send you a stack from the CRS-25 for a sanity check? Pretty sure I captured the first stage after Miko. Feed me. It's commercial versus government. Yeah. I don't know exactly what the point that I was going on. I lost my train of thought completely. Yeah, the long story short is that I think the most sustainable way forward is NASA having its own in-house redundant robust program. Oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. Okay, so SpaceX is launching all this stuff right now, and we know that Elon's a good dude when it comes to engineering and all that other stuff. Like he wouldn't be like, I'm not launching this climate satellite into space, because I don't believe in climate change or something stupid like that. He wouldn't do that. I know that he's smarter than that. He's demonstrated that over the 10 years that I've been following him. I know that he does like to shitpost a lot, but please excuse my language. I'll take the timeout, 10-second timeout for EJ. But say in the future someone else comes along and finds a better way to do it than Elon, and say that person's a crazy person. They corner all the contracts, put SpaceX out of business or something, and they consolidate the market. And then NASA's like, we want to launch our new climate satellite. Can we launch it on your rocket? And the person goes, no, piss off. I'm not launching a climate satellite. I don't believe in climate change. See what I'm talking about? I think that's a very dangerous thing. That's a very dangerous precedent to set. I don't think that that's a good idea. That's why NASA needs their own redundant in-house capability to commercial, because you don't want that crap to happen. That would be disastrous. Because these satellites, more importantly, like another important thing to understand is that somebody could come in and consolidate the market that doesn't care. That's more about making money. And what's stopping them from jacking the price on like a Landsat, on like Landsat 10 or Landsat 11 or something, or another meteorological satellite? Maybe this person has a stake in the airline industry, right? And they also want to corner the market on the airline industry, right? So they're gonna put the launching meteorological satellites on a chokehold so they have control over the airlines, because the airlines won't be able to work without their meteorological data from the satellites. See what I'm talking about? I don't want to sit here and I don't want to be alarmist either. I don't want to be alarmist. I don't want to say that, oh my God, we're doomed because we're putting all of our eggs into commercial. We're screwed. No. I'm saying that the more sustainable way forward is for NASA to have its own in-house program redundant to commercial. That is a much better solution. And right now, that's pretty much what's going on. DM'd on the Twitterers, okay? That's the most sustainable way forward. All right, Pragma, let me take a look. It's not loading the picture. Alright, I'll have to show it on this monitor. Alright, so let me take a look. No, this one right here. No, you just need a sextant to fly a jet. Yeah, because, you know, Lego, because everybody knows how to use those in this day and age, right? You smell burnt toast at all? Alright, so you got the ascent on CRS-25. This is a great picture, by the way. There's the boost back. That's the second stage plume. This cloud right here is the boost back burn. Yeah, that's exactly what you got, dude. Yeah. I noticed, Kyle, on CRS-25, the boost back burn was actually a lot, it was a lot longer than, it wasn't like a ballistic trajectory. They actually, you know how like Falcon 9 usually turns around and then does the retropropulsive burn, right? And then lands on the drone ship. I noticed that this one actually turned around and had a little bit of a boost back. They actually did a boost back. So because they did that, you would be able to see the first stage because it's not going that far down range. So you're a rocket scientist. I'm not a rocket scientist, dude. I'm a computer. I'm a CAD systems guy by trade. I'm self-taught when it comes to this stuff, Shimon. Yeah. Does SpaceX typically do a boost back burn on CRS missions? I can't recall one in recent memory because they launched too much jacks. It's possible, yeah, sure. I know the Dragon 1s were RTLS, but I don't know about the early Dragon 2 launches. I don't think a Dragon launch has ever been an RTLS. That caught me by surprise when I went out and watched it. I didn't think they would do a boost back. Yeah, Phil, I saw it, and I saw Falcon turn around and boost back. I'm like, is it an RTLS? And a bunch of people asked in chat, and I'm like, no, it's a drone ship landing. It's technically 18 photos. It is a stacked video. Cool. The landing was 300-kilometer downrange. I see what they're doing. I see what they're doing. Thomas, they've stretched Falcon 9's design to the point... Actually... No. It's not about stretching Falcon 9's design. That Dragon had 2,600 kilos of cargo. It's light. That's not a lot. Dragon can carry way more than that. It can carry double that amount of cargo. That Dragon was packed light. 5,800 pounds. It's nothing. That's nothing. I'll bet you because that Dragon CRS-25 was traveling light that they put Falcon 9 on a boost back trajectory that is half of what the normal one is. You have that extra Delta V, you might as well use it, because if the drone ship's closer to Port Canaveral, right, and you don't have enough Delta V to do an RTLS, you would land so the drone ship's closer, so you could bring that Falcon 9 back because it's probably already manifested for like another 3 launches. They need it back at the launch site as quick as possible. No, Fragment, you caught it. You got it all the way, which is really freaking cool. That's freaking sick. You got the whole arc, man. And freaking freaking landing and then the entry burn. Yeah, not bad. They could be aiming for a better recovery, Lego. That's a possibility as well. Yeah, there's a bunch of things. My guess is that SpaceX probably just wanted that, if they have a mission that has the margin to get the drone ship closer, because that's the part that's really slow, getting that Falcon 9 when it's landed, ironically, on the drone ship back. That takes a couple of days. And with the rate that SpaceX is launching, coming back from 600 kilometers out offshore as opposed to 300, that's a day. That's a day of travel via a boat because the drone ship doesn't go very fast, right? A day turnaround could mean huge delays, and those delays can compound on each other over time. So if that rocket takes a day to get back, the next Falcon launch that core is going for could get delayed by a day. And then that can cause a ripple effect. The next launch after that could get delayed by 2, and the next one gets delayed by 3, and the next one gets delayed by a week. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know, Pigsig. There's a fleet of Falcon 9s. There's quite literally there's like a processing facility. There's a first stage processing facility. They're building it right at Roberts Road, and they turn these things around like turning airplanes around, which is crazy. I might try to make a video with the streak growing, but it will take a fair bit of work. Do it, man. Do it because you can. That's awesome. Either way, dude, great picture. Fragment, can you throw your photos up so people know where that stuff came, where those pictures came from? If you guys want awesome launch pictures, Fragment in chat takes pictures of almost every launch. What do you think the bottleneck is right now? Drone ships. It's not enough drone ships. So, like Drummer, they have enough Falcon 9s. They have enough fairings. They obviously have enough second stages, right? That's just increase your manufacturing output, right? You reuse the fairings, so you don't have to worry about fairings being the bottleneck. The launchpad turnarounds are getting faster, but I don't think launchpads are at capacity. I don't think that SpaceX has enough drone ships. They only have 2 drone ships, and I honestly think the drone ships are the bottleneck. They need a shortfall of Gravitas back fast for launch on the 24th. Yeah, Thomas, I think the entire thing that's preventing Falcon 9 from like launching 2, 3 times, 4 times a week is literally the drone ships. Like I said, that's a day or two that basically that Falcon 9 is doing nothing. And too many launches need drone landings rather than RTLS. Yeah, precisely. Yeah, guys, Fragment linked his photos up in chat. If you guys want to go check him out, maybe buy one or something. They're pretty damn good launch photos. You see the one we were just looking at? I mean, they have 3 RTLS pads, eh? Yeah, they have 3 RTLS pads, but they don't have a rocket that has enough Delta V to get back with the payloads that they're trying to move into space. I honestly think the SpaceX Navy is the bottleneck. Interesting. Actually, here, speaking of Falcon 9's returning, Jack Beyer over at NSF went and took a picture of the first stage from the Starlink 3-1 mission that came back. It came back into the port of Long Beach. There's the drone ship right there. Falcon 9's launch cadence should slow down once Starlink V2 gets going. I mean, Phil, they're definitely going to ramp down Falcon 9. Falcon 9 is not always going to launch on this frequency. When Starlink stuff starts moving over to V2 and moves to Starship, yeah, the cadence will ramp down. Speaking of Navy, Goose Offshore has acquired 5 more ships. Cool. Yeah, she's a little dirty. Oh. Wow. Based on the frames, the boost back would have been 1.67 and 2.22 minutes. That's pretty much on par with Miko, Fragment. Can you talk about the internal fairing components? Sure. Have you ever used the Apollo in Real-Time website? We used it for the 50th anniversary of Apollo a couple of years ago. Yeah. Blech. Yeah, that's what we did. We used it then, and we watched Apollo 11 in real time. It was pretty rad, man. All right, well, the internal components, Sile. All right, so this, once again, this is a picture from Jack Beyer. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so most of these lines here, if not all of them, Sile, these are pneumatics. It's a pneumatic system. So yeah, all pneumatics. I'm looking at it. So the big giveaway is these things. So those are composite overwrap pressure vessels. Those are COPVs. They're COPV bottles. You can tell they're COPVs because you can see the carbon fiber wrap on it. So what is a COPV? Think like a scuba tank almost. A scuba tank that's, like that a scuba diver would have on their back, it's just wrapped in carbon fiber. The idea is that you can get a lot of gas in there at extremely high pressure. So, Sile, the thing is that this isn't anything groundbreaking for the spaceflight industry. Most fairings on most rockets have a pneumatic separation. They use RCS to push the fairings away. It's just a single thruster RCS, and it's usually at the nose cone of the fairing, and the fairing either unlatches via a latch or an explosive bolt, and then once the latches go, the tank's basically decompressed and psh. That's how fairings separate on most rockets. It's a pneumatic system. And the crazy thing is that Falcon 9 had these COPVs on it before SpaceX even did fairing recovery. So, yeah, see, there's the thruster right there. See the orange caps? 1, 2, and 3. Those are the fairing separation thrusters. They're usually up at the nose cone because you don't want to outgas next to the payload and damage it. Those are the separator thrusters. I'm pretty damn sure. Now, hey Jordan, what's up, buddy? I've seen James Webb, dude. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Been reminding yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Now, all right. So, when SpaceX was looking to recover fairings, Sile, they needed a way to be able to keep the fairing nice and stable during reentry. So the fairing has its center of mass basically right here. The COPVs move the center of mass forward, and the center of mass ends up being basically directly in the center of the fairing. Now, if you look right on where basically the center of mass of the fairing is this stuff. See those attachment points? That's where the parachute is. So SpaceX's fairings make it through reentry. They use the leftover pneumatic gas in here to keep the fairing literally on an even keel during reentry. You could see the RCS right there. 1, 2, 3. And then there should be another set down the bottom somewhere. They're around. It's over here somewhere. Now, it uses that to stay on an even keel during reentry, and then when it makes it through, it pops this parachute, and it uses reentry to sail all the way back down and float in the water. Falcon 9 does have positive pressure vents. They're right there. So you want the gas on the way up, Sile, to drain out of the fairing. You don't want to go to let the fairing go and have atmosphere be contained inside of the fairing, because that'll screw with your separation system, right? If there's gas in here, the fairing could pop too early. If the gas overpressurizes, it could blow the fairing apart. You could do a bunch of bad stuff. So you need a positive pressure vent. As you go up, ambient pressure goes down, but gas can get stuck inside of the fairing. Atmosphere can get stuck. So you have vents at the bottom, right? And when the rocket's accelerating, all the gas goes to the bottom of the fairing because gas still has mass and it's still susceptible to the laws of physics. So oxygen and nitrogen will go down towards the bottom of the fairing, and it'll drain out of these vents right here. Those vents go right out. It's a hole in the fairing, and then there's a vent on the other side. So, Sile, an interesting thing here to take into account. The interesting thing is the fact that, it looks like they installed another COPV over there. The interesting thing is that the vents are right here, and then there's 2 more on the other side. Falcon 9's vents used to be here, 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 and here. They stopped doing that, and they started putting the vents up on the edges of the fairing. Does anybody know why? Yeah, this is a picture of an older fairing. If you look, those COPVs are there already. And then there's insulation on the fairing as well. Waterline. Exactly. SpaceX originally envisioned of catching these fairings on a net. They wanted to catch them on a boat that has a huge bouncy castle on it, right? That was a thing, and it did work for the most part, but they figured out that taking the fairings and having them just land in the water usually works just fine. So SpaceX said, nah, we don't want to catch the fairings anymore, and then instead, they waterproofed the fairings. And part of waterproofing the fairing was redesigning it and putting the positive pressure vents above the water line where the fairing sits in the water. And then basically waterproofing the bottom of the fairing so no salt water gets in here and messes with these pneumatic systems. At least not for a long period of time. They're still going to get some splash and stuff. But yeah, that's basically what this stuff does. All these other things are, they look like solenoids to control the thrusters and then the wiring that's associated with it. That's just a guess though, I'm not sure. These steel lines, or the aluminum lines that are right there, the one with the nylon brackets, see the thing that's holding them together? They don't use zip ties up there, now do they? It's a nylon bracket that holds it together, holds it to the carbon fiber. Those steel lines that with the brackets on them, that's pneumatic. Those are gas lines. But yeah, you can see the separator thrusters, 1, 2, and 3. The separator thrusters are a little more complicated than what you see on a run-of-the-mill fairing because they're solenoid controlled because they're solenoid controlled because this thing, now it's not just clicking these thrusters on and draining the COPVs. Now they need to shut off and the fairing needs RCS to land, so it's solenoid actuated. These solenoids here are basically fuel injectors. Ha 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 ha! Jordan with the 1500. Thanks, man. These actuators right here are basically like a fuel injector on a car, only swap spraying fuel to air, basically. And then these thrusters right there, if I'm looking at this correctly, those thrusters have the same exact solenoid attached to it. See, it's the same thing. But they have an aluminum tube that goes out here, and the fairing has RCS up at the top. See? That's for steering it. Putting it on an even keel. That's RCS. You're looking at what a reaction control system looks like. That's a monopropellant cold gas thruster. Yep. It's very similar to what Falcon 9 has on the first stage to get it to flip around in space. Same thing. In fact, knowing SpaceX, it probably is the same system, just retrofitted to the fairing. Knowing how Elon works, they love doing stuff like that. We need to land our first stages, so it needs an attitude control system. Why don't we just lift the fairing control system and put it on the first stage? Okay, cool, done. SpaceX works like that. It's very logical. It's very, use what you want to use what you've already made already, because you don't want to go and develop something new because that takes time. I have no idea what you're talking about, but it's crazy. Shmong, you ever dust off your computer before? You ever take a can of compressed air and that's what that is. That's what all this crap is. It's just a space version of it. It's the same. It's literally the same thing. And instead of you pulling it with a trigger, they have an electric motor that's attached to the trigger to open it and close it. That's a solenoid. It's just, and then a computer controls the fairing. So these three caps up at the front are what. So this is the aerodynamic fairing. On a rocket, the payload rides in it. It's up at the top. It's the nose cone for it. And notice that it's a half, right? So there's two of them, and they separate like this. When they separate, those solenoids that are connected into the bottles of air, it's nitrogen, right? They just click on and they blow the fairing away. That's it. Like I said, rocket science, this is for anybody that wants to know this stuff. Rocket science is really easy to understand. It is not complicated to understand. It's hard to do. So, like, I can tell you what this does. What it does is really simple stuff. It's just, this fairing blows. Wait. Very simple stuff. If this looks complicated, well, yeah, because rocket science is complicated to do. It's not hard to understand. It really isn't. Look at me. I'm a moron. I get it. Yeah, there you go, Louiso. I get what you mean, but the idea of a space keyboard air duster is funny to me. That's what it is. You have your gas tanks right there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's it. And all this is a computer that basically controls the triggers right here. Those are your triggers. And then these steel lines, like I said, with the nylon with the nylon locks on them, the nylon brackets, those are just air lines. That's it. It's like that little red tube that you put on the front of an air duster. That's what it is. That's it. So what keeps it clean? Well, this part of the fairing never goes into the water. Hey, Rocket Guy. We're talking about fairings. Sitherly with a tier 2 28 months. And Hoovers suck. That's right. Yep. That's a great part about physics. It scales to the problem. Easy foundation. Scale to your liking and complexity to solve a problem. Hey, Rocket Guy, I got a question, dude. I'm pretty dang sure, but see the thrusters with the red cap on them? Those are the separator thrusters, right? 1, 2, and 3. Those are the sep thrusters. And then down here you have your attitude control systems. 1, 2, and 3. I'm pretty dang sure that's how that's working. Have any fairings sank? Yeah, one sank the other day. They don't always get it back. Lego, sometimes if the fairing comes down and it lands, it like hits right out of wave, it'll split the fairing in half. These things are pretty damn delicate. At the nose pointing in, I would assume as well. Yeah, I'm pretty dang sure. But look, for the attitude control, I never seen this before. This is a picture from Jack Beyer. Look, they have recessed attitude control thrusters in there. That's cool, man. That's like, the thruster is built into the side of the fairing instead of just being attached to the side, which is actually really cool. Have a good one. Heading down to the range. All right, man. Be good. Spend some brass for me, okay? Blow up a can of White Claw in my honor. Yeah. Yeah, this is just a pneumatic system, guys. It's like this is just a very, very space age, super advanced version of a keyboard duster. Literally, it's the same thing. Keyboard dusters use CO2. They don't use nitrogen. The reason why SpaceX uses, actually, who knows? Why would SpaceX use nitrogen over CO2? Fairing recovery and KSP went, don't do that to me. Why? Anybody know? There's two big reasons, and I will tell you what these two big reasons are. Yep, you guys got it. So one, CO2 has more mass than nitrogen. Nitrogen is lighter. Now keep in mind, lighter implies weight, which implies that you're under gravitational acceleration. Where that fairing goes, it doesn't do that. It's mass. So CO2 has more mass than nitrogen. And you guys got this. The second part, for the people that didn't guess this, is that CO2 is reactive. There's oxygen in it. It's corrosive. Oxygen makes things rust really, really well, or it makes aluminum corrode. You don't want that. You don't want a reactive gas like that inside of a rocket, because that gas, because with rocket science, how complicated it is to do, that gas will find its way to something, that oxygen in there will find its way to something to react with, and it'll explode. It always happens. Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. So they use nitrogen. The other thing that's really interesting, and there is a third one now that I thought about it. This is another thing, but it's not as big as the first two. Nitrogen has better impulse. Nitrogen has better impulse than CO2 does. What does that mean? A nitrogen thruster is more efficient than a CO2 thruster. Interesting, huh? Nitrogen is also much more readily available. Oh yeah, absolutely. My impulses are bad. We don't need to know about it here, Zappo. We don't need to know about it here. So they use nitrogen because it's cheaper, it's less mass, it's non-reactive, and it has better impulse. In fact, you guys want to hear something really crazy? I was reading about this in, I think it was either RPE or this book. I'm making my way through this book. Rocket Guy, this book is a pleasure. I really, really enjoy reading this. I'm doing whatever the equivalent of book binge watching is with this book. Yeah. The interesting thing about a gas, like a cold gas thruster like that, is that you do have specific impulse with your monopropellant thruster, which is weird. If you mix, okay, so I'll give you an example. If you mix that nitrogen gas with helium, it becomes more efficient. Isn't that weird? That's strange, dude. You reading that book right now too? I love this book. This book is awesome. Like I'm reading through this like a freaking novel, dude. I'm binge watching this book. It's not even like a novel. It just tells you about how liquid fuel engines work. That is the book for rocket engine development. Sutton is intro. H&H is advanced. Oh, this book is dope. This book is awesome, dude. There's like cross sections of turbo pumps. It's got all the math in it and stuff. Dude, it's. Thank you for the recommendation. I freaking love this book. It's got everything with it. It has diagrams to how all this stuff works. See? I just opened to a random page. I'm not sure what we're looking at here. Oh, look at that. I opened to solenoids, to pneumatic solenoids and how they work. There's a pneumatic solenoid. That's what those things are on the fairing. It's that right there. Wow, that was weird. Actually, I think these are propellant solenoids. But yeah, a solenoid is just an electric valve. It's just open and close. A fuel injector on a car is an electronic solenoid. That's why they call it electronic fuel injection. Oh, wow. This is great. This whole, I haven't gotten this far. There's a whole thing on different types of regulators. So, dude, this book is the I love this book. I'll take the time out, man. So, first project on stream is a small liquid fuel engine. My pleasure. What's the name? Modern Engineering for Design of Liquid Propellant Rocket Engines. How's the new house stuff going? We move in about 2 weeks. Would it work as an audiobook or would too much get lost? I'm always looking for books to listen to when I drive up to Wallops. I don't know if they have this in audio format fragment, but maybe. I don't think you can get this book on Audible, you know what I'm saying? I love that book. Nitrous and alcohol engines can be good hobby project. Safety is always a necessity, though. I'm going to need a big whiteboard, rocket guy. Read along with EJ? I don't think it's legal for me to read that book to you guys. What's the title again? Modern Engineering for Design of Liquid Propellant Rocket Engines. It's freaking sweet, dude. Me and alcohol is a good time. Yeah, alcohol is sweet. You can have fun with it, or you could have fun with it with rocket engines. Am I right? Because this book and that big shop in your hands is a dangerous mix. Shut up, Louiso. Shut up. We're not. No, I'm fine. I'm good. Little for me, little for the engine. Yeah, no. Hey, you have to proportion the propellant somehow, dude. It's in the public domain, so it's fine. That book? I don't think that book is public domain, dude. I think that is a college level textbook. But also, yeah, this is a great shot from Jack over at NASA Spaceflight. This is like actually a really good full color shot of the fairing. And okay, if anybody's wondering what the fairing is made out of, just in case you were wondering. Oh, I did forget one more thing. There is a pneumatic latch right there. These are the latches that hold the fairings together. It's like a bike lock for your fairing, and all those latches have to click open, and they're pneumatically actuated. Most equipment where you need some type of actuation in space is either electric or pneumatic. They don't use hydraulics in space because hydraulics need to not have air in the lines, and you need to bleed a hydraulic system. Bleeding a hydraulic system in space without gravity could get really complicated real quick. That's why most doors in science fiction movies, so like Star Trek or Star Wars or whatever, think about a door opening up in Star Wars, in a Star Wars movie. What noise does it make? Does it go like a hydraulic, or does it go like a pneumatic? Pretty cool, huh? Like all the doors in Star Trek. Come. You know, like that. It's all pneumatic. It's all pneumatically actuated. Always has been. Look at his next tweet. He has closer shots. Yeah, if you're wondering what the fairing is made out of, it's carbon fiber, but making those noises was not a good idea. I inflamed something. Not good. Not good. Not good. Pull the ripcord. Ah! No, I'm still getting over COVID, so if I have a coughing fit, that's what happens. So this is carbon fiber, but it's not just carbon fiber. It's a carbon fiber cake. Yep. With aluminum as your filling. So there's an aluminum honeycomb shape of the fairing, and then on either side of that aluminum, it's carbon fiber. So you got carbon fiber, aluminum honeycomb, and carbon fiber. The aluminum is there to strengthen the carbon fiber to make sure the fairing just doesn't turn into a wobbly bit of nothing. It is a carbon fiber aluminum honeycomb cake. Yep. And before you say, well, EJ, why would you say it's like a cake? What does that even mean? You have to bake it. Oh yeah, you have to bake the fairing. They wind the carbon fiber on a mandrel. So they put the aluminum on a mandrel, and then they wind the carbon fiber over the aluminum, and then they put the whole thing together, and it has to go into an autoclave. It is basically a high-pressure oven that's the size of a 2-car garage. Actually, SpaceX's autoclave is probably bigger than that because SpaceX's fairing can fit a school bus inside of it. So, yeah, it's probably bigger than that. It's probably the size of your house. Or your mom. God, whoa, freaking wrecked. I don't remember the Doors and TNG coughing. Well, they never got a virus now, did they? Yeah, they baked the fairings. That's right. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, you gotta bake them. That right there, guys, is the reason why SpaceX reuses their fairings. Fairings are not expensive to make. They're not expensive. Like I said, it's just carbon fiber, some aluminum, some more carbon fiber, some pneumatic systems, and a control computer. It's not too complicated compared to like the first stage. First stage is way more complicated and way more expensive than a fairing is, right? However, in the time it takes to make one fairing half, SpaceX could probably crank out 2 first stages. Seriously. They... excuse me. Fairings aren't expensive to make. They take a long time to make. That's why SpaceX reuses them, because the bottleneck isn't necessarily cost in terms of fairings. It's time, and time is money. That does help. So that's why SpaceX even bothered trying to reuse fairings in the first place. It's not that fairings are an expensive part of the rocket. They're probably the single cheapest part of the entire vehicle in terms of like major components like first stage, second stage, fairing, stuff like that. It's probably the least expensive, but it takes the longest to make because you got to bake it in the autoclave. It takes like 2 to 3 weeks. So SpaceX just came up with the idea of why don't we just reuse the fairings? It's already basically re-entry vehicle shaped, and just have it come back down through re-entry, parachute, and land in the water. I want to make a mother-in-law joke, but I will be nice. That's a good idea. You can also use HTP and butane, but I think you need a license for hydroxyl. HTP. Wait, what's HTP? Yeah, here's a picture from Collect Space, guys, of a fairing that hit the water before SpaceX decided to reuse them. See, there's your aluminum honeycomb, and there's your carbon fiber. Fairings are very delicate. They're very delicate. And so, Lego, I think you asked how often do they lose fairings? This happened to a fairing the other day. One of the recovery ships came back. Without, with only one fairing on it. Yeah. Yeah, see? There's your aluminum honeycomb right there. Earlier you said that the bottleneck of SpaceX is not enough drone ships. If that's the case, why aren't we seeing new ships being added to the fleet? I have to imagine that they do not take that long to build. They are adding new ones to the fleet, Livid. I'm actually... Okay, chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I am recalling correctly, They have another one of these. They're building another one. There's another barge. Marine assets are also expensive. Break out another 1,000. That's what BOAT stands for. Ethical question. You find a fairing on the beach. You call SpaceX or decorate your garage with it. Rob, that would be stealing. It's not legitimate salvage. With rockets, because they're an ITAR protected, because it's like a national security thing. Yeah. The company that launched the rocket retains property of all pieces of that rocket. So if you find the fairing on the beach and you take it home, that's like you going to SpaceX's headquarters and taking a piece of the fairing and bringing it home. You have to give it back to them. If that sounds like, well, that's bullcrap, but, well, yeah, I mean, national security and whatnot. Oil rig developments for SpaceX Live It, as far as I know right now, are nothing. It's not a priority. They can't really do much to the oil rig until they figure out how the rocket flies, right? Like, probably should figure out how the rocket flies first before you start retooling the oil rig to launch the rocket off of it. The last time I heard them referenced by anybody at SpaceX was one of Tim Dodd's Everyday Astronauts videos, when he asked him about it, and Elon said it's not a priority right now. We're working on getting the rocket to launch. And then Tim pressed him on it, and he said, no, stop talking about it. It's not a priority. Talk to me about what we're working on. Seriously, it's like there's this awkward silence. It's like, okay. Okay. So everybody was saying Jack had other pictures here. Yeah, if you find... Hey, Midge. 87 months. Thank you very much. Thanks for the resub. How are you? How is the world of glorious Nihon? Didn't Peter Beck say that marine recovery is super expensive and they think helicopter catching is reasonable? Yep. Pretty much. Oh, nice. A picture. I slept from 2 to 5? Yowza. I don't see SpaceX putting more resources into making Falcon 9 launch faster because Starship will take all the Starlink launches away in the next year or two. So, I don't mean to call people out if they're lurking. There's a user that watches this stream, Gaw. You got any grapes? Grapes, are you here, buddy? I don't mean to call you out. I haven't seen you say anything in chat today. I don't even know if Grape's here. He's probably not here. Maybe a Chinook could catch the fairing? Watching New Glenn land on the barge will be truly something to see. However, if Starship beats them to it, it'll be less impressive. Yeah, you're not wrong. I don't think Grapes is here. Helicopter covering it as a big net strewn across the choppers? No. The helicopter has a tow line attached to the bottom that snags the parachute, Lego. So Grapes isn't here. So Benji Reed. So You Got Any Grapes was at the press conference for CRS 25, the post press, and he asked Benji Reed, who's, I think he's director of Falcon 9 development. He works for SpaceX. He's one of SpaceX's like original employees. He basically said that they're never going to stop iterating on Falcon 9 basically until the end. They're never going to totally freeze the design because there's always something that can be improved. So you're right. I think you're correct. And I think the small iterations aren't like maybe building another drone ship or something, right? You're probably right. But it's important to understand that they're never going to stop upgrading Falcon 9. They'll keep upgrading it until they have something better. That coughing fit really hurt my throat. Don't make pneumatic noises when you have COVID. It hurts your throat. Ooh. Jack got a picture of the serial number. Oh, look. A change log. Nice. That's the 179th fairing that SpaceX has made. Eventually full recoverable would be awesome. Well, that's what Starship is trying to solve, Lego. I wonder if we'll ever see Dragon on a fast trajectory to the ISS. That's what I mean about iteration and upgrading, dude. Eventually, once Dragon's behavior is fully understood and the vehicle design matures, Hellfish? Yeah, probably. Yeah, could probably do a fast track. The only reason that Soyuz could do it is because they have a lot of data and they know how Soyuz will work. It's a much more mature design than Dragon because it's been around for a lot longer. Can they use all the upgrades for crew launches, though? Or is that locked into Block 5 ones? I'm not sure, Barak. I would assume that it's probably, as long as SpaceX has the data to prove the behavior, they have the data, they have the telemetry, they have the analysis to prove that these upgrades to the rocket are working within kind of nominal parameters, then NASA should be cool with it. NASA, so like a lot of people say, oh, NASA says that reusable, you know, like rewind 5 years ago, you know, people were saying NASA will never launch on a reused booster. They'll never launch crew on a reused booster. They'll never launch crew on a reused booster because, you know, the COPVs for Block 5 don't work. They're not human rated, blah, 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 blah. And it was hilarious because it was hilarious hearing all the people say that, all the, you know, space pundits say that on Twitter and just, you know, in forums and whatnot 5 years ago. Oh, NASA will never fly in a reused booster. The Air Force will never reuse a booster. It's not that they'll never do it. It's that SpaceX needs to prove that it's reliable. They need to prove that with data. That happens with time. It's really funny. You want to go back 10 years ago at this time, no, everyone said you'll never fully reuse a liquid fuel rocket booster. You'll never do that. The only way you're going to get reuse is like shuttle SRBs. Yeah. Hilarious. Dragon is far more comfortable, so you need that fast trajectory. So you can get to the ISS quicker so more science gets done. Best, you want to get the biggest science yields. Lego, we sunk a couple $2 billion into building that space station. Use it. Now the question is, when is the end of Falcon 9? Unfortunately, the demand for more mass to orbit is not there yet for spacefaring missions. SpaceX is limiting flights now to fill their transporter missions. Granted, full reusability can shift that scale, but that is heavily dependent on a lot of variables. It's a good question. It's a good question, Rocket Guy. When is the end of Falcon 9? So, okay, the big datum that we have is NSSL. NSSL Phase 2, so the Launch Services procurement that went to ULA and SpaceX that the Space Force awarded, right, for launching spy satellites and stuff into space. We know good and well that Falcon 9 is going to fly to 2028 at the very least. Because the NSSL Phase 2 LSP goes till 2028. That's when that contract is up for renewal for more national security launches. So Falcon 9 flies till 2028 at the very least. Have they started naming the boosters yet? With real names, I mean, not just numbers? Nah, Midge. Even Starship just has S24 painted on the side. They did paint it. They did paint like letters on the side, which is actually really cool. It's pretty neat here. Nick, one of NASA spaceflight's photographers, took a picture of S24 the other day when they first painted it. Okay, so Midge, two things. They put S24 up here. They didn't put it down there. They didn't put it over here. It definitely looks like there's space for a name right there. That's something that chat speculated. I agree. Is there a date for the Starship launch? Lego, because Booster 7 had a little bit of a hiccup on the pad the other day, it's probably not going to happen until August, maybe even September. Delays happen. This stuff happens. Hey, Zappo! Thanks for the bits, man. I appreciate it. I dig it. I think that's really cool. The X on the top is sick. By the way, are those tiles under the X part? I think they're antennas, Rocket Guy. I think they're an antenna of some type. I don't know what it's for, though. What was the Booster 7 hiccup? Headphone users. Headphone users, we gotta play the video again. Headphone users, you've been warned. So Lego, this was from a spin start test the other day where they basically tried to start up all 33, tried to actuate the starter mechanism on all 33 Raptors on the first stage. They weren't trying to start them. They were just making sure that the starter mechanism works. So think about like if you tried to turn the key on a car and start the engine with no fuel, just, or actually no spark plug. The fuel was on. The fuel lines were on. That's an important thing to understand. Headphone users. Yeah. Headphone users. Once again, it's coming from Starbase Live. Headphone users, last warning. See, watch. There's the fuel coming out right there, and oops. Oh. Yeah. Did the preburner start during the spin test? There was no preburner ignition, Darkstone. Atomized, unburnt propellant was coming out of the bottom of the rocket engines, and that found a source of ignition somewhere. And it combusted. It combusted. Okay, headphone users again. Watch what happens here. You see what happens here? That's supposed to be going on inside of the rocket engines, but they didn't have the combustor or torch igniter or spark igniter or whatever SpaceX is using in there. They didn't have the ignition on. So they just sprayed a bunch of propellants out the bottom of the rocket, and if I had to guess, that they sprayed mixed propellants out the bottom of the rocket, and it probably found some hot metal surface somewhere and auto-combusted. So SpaceX now says that they're going to use Rofies. They're going to have a Rofi igniter, like the space shuttle, which is actually really freaking cool. Yeah. Rofi ignition. Yep. Guys, what you're looking at here is basically the biggest carburetor backfire in history. This is like when you flood a carburetor and you try to start and it blows out the top. That's like the rocket equivalent of a carburetor backfire. Oh, okay, yeah, I saw that. Should have that on your soundboard? No, people would not watch the stream if I had that explosion teed up on the soundboard, man. People would get pissed. What is a Rofi igniter? Good question. Yep. So, you saw what happens when you don't have a sparker down at the bottom. The Rofies, or radial outward firing igniters, that's not necessarily what they're called. Rofi is Delta 4, and technically the sparklers on Delta 4 aren't called Rofi. Their technical name is not called a Rofi. They use a radial outward firing igniter to start up an RS-68, if we're going to talk real technical here for a second. With that being said, when you start rocket engines, so SpaceX was doing a starter test, right? They were doing a starter test, and they had some residual propellant come out of the engines because they didn't have the igniters on. It found a source of ignition and it exploded. If you've ever wondered why the shuttle...
Volumes.
Oh, why the shuttle has this thing right there. Why the shuttle... Why do we have those sparkers? Well, that's a firing igniter right there. Those sparklers are there to address this problem so a pop like that doesn't happen underneath the shuttle engines. Because if you notice, this is in slow motion, but if you notice, when these engines start, a little bit of propellant always squirts out of the rocket engine just a little bit before combustion occurs. That happens. You got to spin the turbo pumps up. You got to spin the turbo pumps up before you put the igniter on, or, yeah, you could hard start the engine. Hard starting rocket engines is what happened to SN11, if you're curious. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Hard starting a rocket engine usually results in an explosion, but not the type of explosion that you want. Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance, but not for me. So, watch. These sparkers are here to purge out the residual hydrogen that comes out of the engines during ignition. Now here, that's a LOX dump, that's liquid oxygen coming out. But the hydrogen will pop out here, and when it does, you'll get these nice big orange flames that come out of the rocket engines. Space Sparklers is a good nickname. Yeah. Guys, you know what the funny thing is? That is literally a sparkler firework. It is. That's what it is. They had to replace them every time. It's a sparkler firework because keep it simple. That is the. I mean, 4th of July was just a couple weeks ago, right? You get the sparkler, you put the thing in, and just shoot sparks out. That's what that is. It's just inside of a housing. It's straight up a space sparkler. Okay, so see. The engines have some residual coming out of them. See that? The sparklers are immediately purging out the hydrogen. The reason why those sparklers are there is so that doesn't happen. That's why they're there, because that happens. Now, don't get me wrong. Starship is using methane. It's not using hydrogen. But methane is mostly hydrogen. It's mostly hydrogen. BJ, 36-month resub. Fight fire with fire. Well, Lego, yeah, it's kind of like that. The way to think about it is like this. So, it's not fighting fire with fire. Hydrogen and methane will blow up. They will blow up. But where they blow up is up to you. You could either shoot it out and it's going to explode in some way, shape, or form, or you can choose where it's going to explode. Now, I cannot tell you what would happen if this happened next to the space shuttle. That would be catastrophically bad, right? And yeah, that's probably not something you want to do every time. So, with hydrogen and methane, any fully cryogenic propellant, frankly, you have to do this. Because if you don't, hydrogen will blow up. If you don't give it a place to explode, it will find a place to explode. And normally that place where it finds a way for it to explode is not where you want it to be. Like this. See that? Crazy, huh? That was just with a spin start. The spin starters on Raptors shouldn't be more than like 1 or 2 seconds of fuel. They're not even out of booster, Trippy. They just have to. They're not even out of booster. They're just going to go inspect 7, give it a quick once over, put it back on the pad, do the test again with sparkers. Because that's how SpaceX tests things. You learn from testing. Also, Ship 24. It's a great picture from Nick. It does look pretty freaking sick. I said it once, I'll say it again, I'll say it quick. I don't like how the paint doesn't match the angle of the tiles. That just looks really strange to me. But other than that, though, if you just take a step back and look at it, it's pretty freaking cool. Yeah, that is pretty freaking cool, man. You a big fan of the honeycomb designs? Yep. Needs a flag? I agree. There should be a flag right here and right there. There should be an Australian flag on it. Agreed. Oh, you're awake? Huh. How you feeling? How's your head? Why is there no protective fence for blow waves in between nitrogen tanks and the pad? I find it not so secure proof. There's a big 2-story tall dirt berm. Also, nitrogen doesn't explode. Which head? Yep, okay. That's terrible. blindness. What are we looking at? Is there a mass simulator inside? There's Starlink satellites in there, Lego. Starlink V2s. Okay. Yeah, whatever fire those guys are fighting, I wish them nothing but success. Anyway, so in other news here, we'll get back to talking about more Starship in a moment. In other news here, CRS-25, we watched that launch 2 days ago. It did dock to the space station this morning. Here, check it out. This is cut up footage of from NASA coming from the Sci News channel.
This is Mission Control Houston. Good morning. You are looking at a tally-ho from one of the cameras outside of the International Space Station looking down at the SpaceX Dragon on the CRS-25 mission
cool,
carrying cargo up to the 7-member crew that is on their extended stay on the orbiting complex.
Hey, Naceros, what's going on, buddy?
Thanks for joining us for this morning's coverage.
Gary. Or just cut Gary off, whatever. Oh, I see, yeah. Here it comes.
Discovery, going throttle up.
Danubio Azul. Sing. It should be public domain, Lego. It's public domain, guys. It's alright. Last, Thomas, okay? I'll look at it in a moment. Here, let's get to the good stuff. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Hey, Wednesday. That's an 8-month resub. Thanks, buddy. Oh, Tedra's handover. It really is a nice song. Very nice on the ears. You can see the RCS firing. Okay, they're at the 10-meter hold right there. Or no, that was a 20-meter hold, excuse me. And bring it in. Mission control. Okay, Dragon is go for the boop. Yep, cool. And cha-ching! Now the hooks on the NDS will retract here, and Dragon will slowly creep towards the space station as they passivate the IDSS right there. Once the hooks are retracted on the soft capture mechanism, the main hooks on the docking port will close. There's 24 of them on the IDSS, and we'll secure Dragon to the space station. There it goes. Pulls it in. And the hooks were latched. That happened at 11 this morning Eastern time. Yeah, it's pretty awesome, isn't it? Yep. We watched that thing launch the other day. Made it right up to the space station, docked there. It was carrying about 5,800 pounds or 2,500 kilograms of payload, including a bunch of small experiments that are going to be up on the space station for a little while. Pretty sweet. That Dragon will come down sooner rather than later to make room for the Crew 5 launch, which should be launching, I think, in September, if I'm remembering right. The sun burped again. So did I. Did you hear it? Oh, yeah. You got a little burp there. Here. One of the astronauts on board, the commander of the Crew 4 mission, Kjell Lindgren, took that picture. And, you know, this is a picture of a dragon from a dragon. That picture doesn't suck. Got some real cell phone background vibes here. Cut the picture up, crop it, cell phone background. A new Dragon, C212, greeting a used Dragon, CO208.3. Yeah, Thomas, you know what? That's a really good point. That's a really good thing to mention. You see that Dragon right there? Notice how the flag is a little bit scuffed? Yeah, that's its third time going into space, that cargo Dragon. What was it, Thomas? It was CRS 21, 23, and 25, right? Yep. Yeah, now the 25th mission. That thing's been into space 3 times. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad at all. Pretty good. Can you rotate 180 degrees? Yeah, sure. There you go. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish here. But oh, predominant. The University of Sydney won the Spaceport America Cup, by the way. Do the rest of the stream like that? No. This is very disorienting. Yep. When is Starliner's next flight? Should be targeting the end of the year, Hand. Has the blood in the head feel? Yeah, I can't really do this for much longer, or else, you know, blood rush into your head and stuff. Oh, I gotta go over there. Yeah, I just rotated my monitor. Sorry, man. Do we have to? Alright. Old streaming trick. How's your hat still on? Your cover should fit well to stay on your head when you're upside down. Jeez. Alright. Alright, I'm gonna try for it.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Nope. Alright. Okay, ready? And... Ow! Ah! That was a bad idea. That was a bad idea. Okay, let's not do that again. Okay. Alright. I'm alright. I'm okay. let's not do that again, okay? That hurt. Stay like that? No, I'm good. Ow. You made me cough. Anyway. G-forces and stuff. This is a really sweet picture. I'm just gonna look at it for a little while. Worm. That's nice. You know what? This is gonna go in my this is going in my cringe compilation. I'm just gonna put that in there. Okay. Anyway, let's see. What else do we got here? I think...
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Hello? Hello? Linux! Hey! Thanks, Hokie, for your gifted sub. Right on, man. Thanks for the resub. Let's see. Looking around. Here we go. Booster 7. Roll back for repairs. Boom.
Discovery.
Duh! Predominant. 10 subs. Thank you. I just wanted to tell you, man, that I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Predominant. Yes. I appreciate you. Oh yeah, look at that. It tracked CRS-25. Cool.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Livid with the 35-monther. Thanks, buddy. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Get the frick up! Bum 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 bum. What? It's weird. Like, what else am I supposed to say? That's weird. That doesn't look right. It's hanky. It has no meaning. Get the frick up. Bum 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 bum. Booster 7. Get the frick up. Bum 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 bum. Throw your hands to the sky. Bum, 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 bum. Lurkers in the back in the chat going, "What's up?" Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. I'm not saying the next line, so. What's up? I was like, "What's up?" Starship, flap your wings. Yeah, that's right. I said it. Flap your wings. What's a frick? Something I don't give. I don't give a frick. I will say it once, I'll say it again. On any other day, that might seem strange. So this was last night. Moving the booter away. That's big. If they could dye this river green today, why can't they dye it blue the other 364 days? That's hanky, man. Engelbert, that's hanky. It has no meaning. It can't tip over? No, look at the counterweights that they have. They put a lot of counterweights on the SPMTs to keep the center of gravity low so it doesn't move. That is really freaking cool, though. Man, that thing is huge. Can't throw a fugitive reference past you. I don't care! I didn't kill my wife! I don't care! The Starship did a Peter Pan right here off this launch pad. Wait, boom! Holy shoot! Alright, can we go home now? No! No! No. Do we know what the red and green lights mean? Just celebrating Christmas? Red and green? Christmas, yes. Am I the only one who gets broken steel vibes from the crawlers? Yeah, okay, I see it. Let that be a lesson to you. Don't ever doubt the big dog. It ain't over till the big dog hounds. Man, that thing's big. I mean, the thing doesn't look to be in too bad of a condition, but the shrouds definitely got blown off there. Yeah, exactly, Blu-ray. That's what I was just saying. You can see the turbine machinery on some of the Raptors, so there was supposed to be a cover there. Supposed to be. I'm pretty sure that cover's probably in orbit. Okay, one last thing, fellas. One last thing. All right. You know those lights that's a trailer? It's a generator with a big light, with a big powerful light on it in a trailer. Has anybody ever seen a truck moving the trailer with the generator on? I'll be honest with you. I have never seen this happen before. But it makes sense. But also, I've never seen that before until Starship. Maybe I should just get out more, you know? Like, I've never seen anybody do that. But on the other hand, if you're moving something, that makes sense. We're waiting on FAA licenses, Perseus. Yeah, they got to get the launch license. I've just get out and touch grass. Yep. Okay. You have when they're shooting a film. Okay, that's fair. Just put a light bar on the truck. I'm good, Neveling. How are you? Yeah. No, I've never seen this. I mean, it makes sense. That's pretty damn smart. But I've never seen anybody actually do that. Probably already read this, but Elon said there was no noticeable damage to the booster or engines, but they are checking. I would check it just to be sure, Jaka. They got to figure out where that source of ignition came from. They're gonna. My guess is that they're gonna obviously inspect the booster for damage, but you're also gonna inspect it to see if like a wire didn't short or something. Because obviously, what happened with 7 the other day was not intended behavior, right? They didn't expect it. They didn't intend for the booster to have the most massive carburetor backfire in history. Like, probably invalidates the warranty. Yeah. Yeah. Elon might get a call about that. Yes, hello, Elon. I've been trying to reach you about your booster's extended warranty.
Discovery, go at throttle.
Why do you think they swapped a Raptor on the pad? Probably because they found something wrong with it. That would be my guess, Reagan. I'm not sure. Skyseas, hey buddy, 40-month resub. University of Sydney won spaceport. Dude, I saw. We watched the ceremony when I was playing Minecraft today. Congratulations, dude. That's cool. Yo, did you see that Dustin used my footage for the Swiss team? They used my track, and I'm saying, go, baby, go, and fly in the background. Yes, they used my track, dude. It was awesome. I got so excited about that. Yeah, during the award ceremony when they were showing each team. I think they used, for Sydney, I think they used some of mine as well. They definitely used a lot of DOS's footage too, which was sweet. That made me really, really happy. Those things are really hard to track, dude. Did I get your guys? I think I got your rocket too. I don't remember. I think I tracked the rocket because you asked me to. And I don't know if that was used with when they showed you guys, but I'm not, maybe, I don't know. But either way, congratulations, man. Can Starship reach orbit alone? Starship probably could, German, but if that thing was an SSTO, your payload bay would probably be about the size of a pickup truck bed. That's the difference a first stage makes. Starship could probably SSTO and come back down on its own. I bet you it could at this point. But, once again, your payload capacity would be probably what you could fit in a closet. Yeah. That's SSTOs, man. Always a pain in the butt. The Earth's Gravwell is such a pain. Starship, think about this. Like, Starship, on any landable planet, obviously Starship isn't going to try to land on Jupiter or, like, Venus or something. But most of the planets that Starship would have any business landing on, Mars, the Moon, Ceres, stuff like that, it has more than enough Delta V. It's over-engineered for those planets, believe it or not. That's a Mars SSTO right there. Easily a Mars SSTO. I mean, if somebody... Yeah, Matt, they're not practical for low Earth orbit because of the scale that you have to deal with. But however, I will say, if somebody made a SSTO like small sat launcher, that could be competitive, but the amount of money that you'd need to dump into an SSTO small sat launcher would be like 4 or 5 times at least the investment of making a regular small sat launcher, right? So, I mean, that would still be cool. I would love to see X-33 fly again, for instance. Let me put it to you like that, you know? But yeah, you're right. SSTOs might make sense if it's like fully reusable, like land it like an airplane to put it back on a pad and send it again, you know? But engineering do be like that, unfortunately. I'm thinking more realistic testing of re-entry without heavy. Test as you fly. Test as you fly. Right? Why just launch Starship when you could launch Starship and Super Heavy at the same time? You get more data that way. SpaceX is... And now, I know that doesn't seem like a lot of sense. That doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense, but SpaceX is known for going for gold like that, you know what I mean? ¿Por qué no los dos? Sí. Me gusta la biblioteca. I think John Wayne said that or something. He spoke Spanish, right? Even if it explodes, it's still data. That's right. Telemetry is telemetry. That's right. The only true failure is the one where you don't learn something. They do, Penta. Yeah, you're not wrong. Now, we just need to shoot small sats into orbit. I mean, spin them into orbit? Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving, pilgrims. John Wayne. I just want to take a moment to pause and look at how ridiculous this picture is. Look at the people on the look at the people on the freaking man baskets. Look at the size. Look at the size of the people. You know what the craziest part about this is, fellas? The habitable volume of Starship, the habitable parts, are from here. See that line right there just below the payload dispenser? From here up. From here to about there. That's the habitable volume. Now, I'll give you a sense of scale here, all right? Obviously, there's the people, right? Check this. Consider this here for a moment, okay? So, Skylab was a gigantic space station that was launched on a Saturn V. That's the usable volume inside of... That's the usable volume inside of Skylab. It's pretty big. The reason why that's there is because that was the treadmill. You literally run around that thing. There's probably footage of that in here. Yeah. Look, see? Now, Skylab's pretty big, right? It's pretty big. Pretty big space station. Skylab can fit inside of Starship. Inside of that habitable volume that I just told you. You would have to take the docking array off and the Apollo telescope mount off, but the habitable volume of Starship, the habitable volume of Skylab can fit inside of this. Easily fit inside of it. Not like, yeah, easily. It's ridiculous. We're talking about a ridiculous amount of payload-based space here. The Falcon 9's entire fairing could fit inside of this. The 2 fairing halves with a payload inside of it. And the fairings on Falcon 9 can fit a school bus inside of them. So you have payload attachment fitting, school bus, 2 fairings. That whole freaking thing could fit inside. And you'd have probably space to... You'd have space left over. A lot of space left over. I calculated the Delta V in Starship on its own would have about 8,500 meters a second. How close is that to orbit? You need about 9 kilometers a second to get into low Earth orbit. So it's pretty damn close. That's like 90 to 95% of the way there. How many astronauts is Starship being designed for? In Earth-to-Earth version, supposedly 100 people. Supposedly. But yeah, I know, Pigsley. I'm with you. The Polaris missions are going to be insane. And here's a shot of some sand. How many bananas could you fit in Starship? Yes. 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 Hard banana. Hard banana. It's a chromanana. I want to see it in orbit soon. Is this a new iPhone? Yeah. Fruit, apple, fruit. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. Banana. Banana. Yeah, see, a little bit of coking going on there from the explosion. Why did you hold up something invisible? What are you talking about? I never do that. Bonesister, how are you? Yeah, there's some of the shrouds over there. They kind of got removed by force. Hey, Sky Seas. Hey, thanks for the 5 subs, dude. Appreciate it. I'm okay working. Alright. Sweet. That was awesome. That was awesome. How's the back today? I'll be alright. Those pipes are pretty strong. Well, these big thick boy pipes have reinforced concrete inside of them. So yeah, those ain't going nowhere. Yeah, that's one of these things is probably heavier than your mom. Like easily. And there's 6 of them holding it up, so I'm not 15, I swear. I swear. I swear. No, don't leave. Come back. Oh, crap. Why does this keep happening to me? Oh, no! I feel sorry for the guy putting another layer of paint on after the damage. Lego, I'll be honest with you. Any paint you put down there, you're gonna lose. If the explosion scorched the paint off, what is 33 Raptors going to do? There ain't gonna be no paint on that thing. Sooner rather than later. You're 13. You're 12. I'm 12, and what is this? Man. Velociraptors, yeah. Well, that's the orbital tank farm venting. You can tell it's venting because of the way that it is. And that's pretty neat. Look at that bird flying around. That's pretty neat. You can tell it's a bird because of the way it is. That's pretty neat. What paint is called patina? Look at that bird just flying around. So majestic. Didn't know we were allowed to vent on stream.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Are you an orbital tank farm? Only the tank farm can vent. If you are not a tank farm, you will take your taco business and keep it in the other room, okay? Taco Bell business, keep it in the other room. It's gross. That stuff is gross! That's terrible, Predominant. Oh no. How big is that drone? It's pretty big, but also spaceship. What, you want me to shut the Nature Walk music off? I don't really want to do that. Saros, I've been to Chipotle. Yeah, okay, yeah, I got you. Did your sub come through? That tier 2 35-month sub, always great content, all the best, absolutely. It's not a DJI. Perseus, I know nothing about drones. Like, nothing about drones. I know how it works. It has 4 contra-rotating blades, and it uses differential RPM to fly around. And the blades are controlled by electric motors. And then there's a flight computer in the center. That is the limit to my drone knowledge. What should I dare him to do? Who do you think is going to get back to the moon first, SpaceX or NASA? Lego, the Artemis 3 mission uses Starship to land on the moon, so the answer is yes. Ooh, high dynamic range. Predominant, you should... Tell him to chug it, tres comas. Look at this rocket. What's that one, Glenn? Uh-oh. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I was looking at the other screen. What did I miss? Oh! Don't drop it, buddy. That would stress me out. Yeah, that would stress me out. It's like multi-million-dollar engine, right? Just carrying around the forklift. Whoa. Deja vu. Oh, nothing. I just had a little bit of deja vu. What Raptor engine did you see? Was it the same Raptor? I don't know. Oh, they sealed off the exits. We're trapped. $99 Raptor engines go by. It was not the same Raptor. That was 76. Okay. They should call the next generation of raptors velociraptors. What if they do? One has toots, the other does not. Yep. They've already made 100 Raptor 2s. Yep. Yep. Same driver, though. Yes. How come we didn't see him go back? The hell's that about? How about there's just one of these just chilling in the background there? Raptor's already called Velociraptor. So are you! Got him. Where's Booter 7? Booter 7 is getting inspected. What's up with the number sequence? The numbers on the side rams are the booster or the engine serial number. There are different types of Raptor engines, though. There's obviously like vacuum Raptor, so the upper stage version of Raptor, and then there is the there's the first stage version of Raptor. But first stage Raptors are a little bit different. There's Raptor Booster, Raptor Center. So there's RC and RB. I don't know if they abandoned that naming scheme, but maybe they did. I don't know. The difference between RC and RB is gimbal. The Raptor booster engines have no gimbal on them, so they're the ones that you see with just a pipe coming out of the top. Raptor Center engines, and keep in mind, Raptor Center engines are the ones that are on Super Heavy and on Starship. There's 3 Raptor Centers on Starship. Those are RC engines. See those ones right there? Those are RC engines. RB engines are on the outside, but SpaceX for the time was putting RC and RB on them, but then they just switched to serial numbers. So I don't even know if they do that anymore. But there is a couple of different type of Raptors. And the numbers on the side are the sequence numbers. Yeah, Thomas, that sounds about right. But yeah, the numbers on the side are the serial. Now I want cereal. Yeah, there's RVAC boosters, Tomas. Yeah. That's what I said. Yep. Your wife bought 4 boxes of Golden Grams predominant? Nice. Why so cereal? Oh, Falcon, what year is it? Ship 25 almost done over there, look. Hellfish, I bought all the fuel lines for the truck, by the way. Thank you for leading me over to Jegs. They got all kinds of fun bits on there. You should make a chocolate-covered graham cracker cake. Why you gotta do that, man? I just recently started drinking milk again. But oat milk. Can't do dairy milk. It's been 6 years. Just thought I could help. Yeah. I got a Dash 8 for the fuel line and then a 5/16 for the return. And then a 2-foot hose. 2-foot braided hose. Dash 8 and a Dash 6. That should do it. It should do it. Now, then I just need the vent line. The vent line doesn't need to be anything. It's not under pressure. It's just a vent. I can't have milk. So gross. Alright. Winter Soldier finished what Dark Knight started. Changed my mind. I had a bowl of Frosted Flakes last night for dinner. It was great. Bowl of Frosted Flakes. Remember, chat, Frosted Flakes are more than good. They're great. Anyway, dudes, I think that's everything. Not a lot of space news today. All right. Milk is filtered cow blood. Enjoy. Yeah, that Niceros, you said that, and I still want to drink milk. It's like when those people that don't eat meat show pictures of like cows in the slaughterhouse, and they're like, look at how gruesome it is. Still want to eat meat? And I'm just like, yeah. Yeah, so? No, Niceros, I know it's not a moral thing for you, I get it, but also, like, I remember in what was it, ninth grade science class, or no, it would have been 10th grade. I had my license. Yeah, it would have been sometime 10th, maybe 11th grade. I don't know. Anyway, I had my license. That's pertinent to the story. We were in science class, and this was like 2004, 2005, and they showed, my science teacher showed Super Size Me, and everyone's like, oh my god, McDonald's is so bad, and it made me hungry. I literally got in my car, because it was last period, I got in my car and went and bought McNuggets, and it was delicious. It was the best McNuggets I've ever had. Due to current happenings, I stated thinking about the Antares replacement again. They would need to make a new rocket, or they lose the late load capability due to Cygnus only being able to be loaded through the CBM hatch. Air 1 powered first stage would still be the best drop-in for Antares. Or they could just build Omega and stop beating around the bush. They spent all that time turning plants into a burger. You know what else does that? Cows. That's pretty good, man. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Just ate a Jack from Jack in the Box. Yeah, I noticed, Sarah. I got you, man. I got you. Yeah, Hellfish. I remember having that passive thought, but I wasn't, because I was a stupid high school kid. I wasn't smart enough to say it. And I'm like, wait, something isn't right about this. Wait, you're telling me if you eat fast food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day for like a month straight, you're going to get fat? No! Really? That's how that works? Oh, jeez. Well, McDonald's bad, am I right? Like, and you know what the worst part about that? McDonald's got rid of Super Size. Got rid of Super Size because of that frick. Ugh! So annoying. Wait, you're telling me you eat fast food every day, you get fat? What? What? No, seriously. I remember. It was really funny. All the girls in my science class were like, oh my god, I'm never having McDonald's again. Me, I'm like, I'm going to get McNuggets right now. I want to get McNuggets. Anybody want to come with me? And everyone's like, no, it's bad for you. You're a piece of crap, EJ. I'm like, yeah. See ya. I'm going to go enjoy my McNuggets later. I know, Kyron, right? It's just a damn shame. I don't know, Falcon, did they? I remember Supersize being gigantic. But that might have been just because I was a kid. Large fries are good. Two large fries and a 20-piece chicken McNugget. That'll fill me up. I'm good. That's enough. Omega would need a transporter erector system instead of the ML for late load then. False. Dragon can late load off the fixed service structure. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Ace? Yeah, Thomas, you know what? Don't come at me with your technical stipulations. They just need to build Omega. They just need to build Omega. Just build Omega, okay? No, the portions are definitely getting smaller to make nutritional value look better. Because I go to when I think nutrition, Mob Crusher, I think McDonald's, right? Yeah, those two, yeah, of course. Every day we stray further from God's plan. The Industrial Revolution was a mistake. No, it wasn't. It was pretty awesome. Dragon has a hatch on the side. Cygnus does not. Well, make a hatch on the side, bruh. Telling me you can't make a crew access arm get to the top as well? Nah, we could do that. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Return to... Wait. Return to... Monkey? It was. There, I said it. Oh, now I'm hungry. Monka! Oh, shoot. Return to monkey. That's me, by the way. That was... I was racing a car in a racing game on stream, and I crashed, and I am very embarrassed to say that that's what came out of my mouth when my car crashed. Yep, just... You hear the guy that I got into a wreck with in the background going, "Oh, god dang it!" Which racing game? That was in Assetto. EJ, the practice is hard at work. Well, make a hatch. Why aren't you in school, chat? It's Saturday, EJ. Well, so go look at a school. I don't want to see Wallop's LP0A get abandoned. You won't get abandoned. Neutron will use it. Should I have said that? That was a guess. LP0A for life, bro. No. You know what? I disagree. I disagree very much. You know why I disagree? Because I want to see something other than SLS roll out of the VAB. Okay? Look at Matt, you don't want this? You don't want this? Look at this. We could have had this. We could have had this. You don't want this? How do you not want? I don't understand. I don't understand. How would you look at it? Look at it. You ever stared at it? Marveled at its beauty? Its genius? Ahem. Gib. I want tiny angry rocket. Why tiny angry rocket when you can have big pissed off SRB rocket? Stick rocket, good. Okay, but hear me out. Antares, no, stick rocket, good. Okay. Hail, stick. No stick. I lost some respect for you, man. I lost some respect for you. Stick. Just stick. Stick. Look, stick. Oh yeah. Look at that. See that? That's Chad Tier right there. Speak softly and carry a big stick. Yes. Bob Dole said that. Wait, wasn't he in Viagra commercials? He was, wasn't he? Teddy Roosevelt, you swat. I know who said it, you dope. God, it was a joke. Big stick policy. See? Joe, we tried to have a big stick policy. but we wanted little stick policy, okay? We that we could have had that. I can't spell. And now we have little stick policy. Look at this. Look at this. Yep. Yeah. Well, you know what? You got a little stick. What is this? Stealth rocket or something? Jeez, just show the damn picture. Look at that. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is nice. Okay? This is nice. But I like this. Okay? I like this. This is nice. But I like this. Fun fact, Teddy Roosevelt's face on Mount Rushmore is not carved. He just headbutted the backside of the mountain. I believe that. I believe that. With a big stick comes big responsibility. We weren't ready to handle it. We weren't ready to handle the big stick on the launch deck. When's the last time you played Icarus? Oh, I haven't played in a long time. This is the third decade in a row you've shown Stick Rocket in a contract proposal. This look like canceled stick? You're a canceled stick, all right? Yeah, you could say this looks like a canceled stick, but yeah, hey, where are your engines at? Oh, wait. The factory that makes them exploded. Well, the factory that makes the rocket body. The engine factory is very much intact. But I digress. Sky says, I landed a job with Siemens as a third-year engineering student as a quality assurance engineer. I want to say thanks for the last 5 years of motivation and discussion. My pleasure, man. Congratulations. We were so far from great. We were so close, Joe. We were so close. It could have been. Look, it's awesome. Look at it. It's awesome. It's awesome. You can't not like Ares 1. You know, oh, it looks weird. It looks like a snake that swallowed. No, it looks amazing. Check link for your last. Okay. Okay, what am I looking at? That? Oh, okay. It looks like CGI? That is not CGI. How dare you? It cannot handle all the loaded solid propellant. Okay, I'll compromise. Stick and tube. Okay, alright. No, Matt, we really want to compromise. Here's the way to compromise. We either A, just take Antares and launch it off of a mobile launcher on the Cape, or B, we take Omega and we launch it off of Pad 0A. Trade offer. I receive Stick Rocket. You receive Launch Pad. Do we have a deal? That's what I was saying with make Omega use a TE system. Yeah, but I wanted to use the VAB. Alright. Good. Cool. And then you could have had this. What is this? Where did you get this? Where did you get this picture? Where did you get this? Oh, God. I don't like that. Well, nobody wants the VAB anymore. It's just a dumb building anyway. Man, you sound stupid even with a kappa at the end of that. Don't you ever say that again. How dare you? Just double stick. Now connect the two and launch it? Oh. Yeah, they had an idea to do that. But we have 39C. Actually, we don't have 39C. Franco and NASA canceled that project. You know why they canceled that project? Because a parking lot is not a launch site. Unless you're Astra, in which case it very much is. But also... yeah, they just quietly pulled that off the table because it was a dumb idea in the first place. There, I said it. Dude, what could have been? We almost had this. They made the parts for it. Damn it! Oh, that could have been so freaking sweet. They canceled 39C and made 48. Yeah. How many people are using that? Oh wait, none? Yeah, thanks. This is a box reminder that I'm not sure you need, but it makes me feel better to remind you. Okay. Could you launch 2 rockets at the same time that close to each other? I'll tell you what I'd do, man. Launch 2 shuttles at the same time, man. Yeah, I mean, Rizabek, it's not so much about whether it could or couldn't work, okay? First of all, why do we need to do that? Okay, so let's play off the notion that we need to launch 2 rockets at the same time, Armageddon style, right? Like, say we need to do that, okay? Right. I don't think it's so much the fact that you couldn't do it or that it would, you know, it'll break or whatever. I would be more worried about the stuff that you can't predict. So, like, what happens if the wind is blowing in the wrong direction and one rocket hits the other or something? It's not so much that you couldn't do it. I'm sure you could. Sure, why not? It's the stuff that you wouldn't be able to predict that would be really, that would make that kind of complicated. I'm not sure if the SRBs could, yeah, the sounds would probably shake each SRB to pieces. But then again, 2 SRBs launched together all the time with the shuttle. But then again, those 2 SRBs that launched on the shuttle were connected to each other. And believe it or not, one of the things that they learned from the shuttle program is that the SRBs leave a lot of resonant vibrations. They're loud and they're very powerful and they shake. They're connected together via a strut that goes through the external tank. And that strut basically turned the SRBs into a gigantic tuning fork. And the vibrations from each SRB actually ended up canceling each other out. Yeah, funny story. Didn't SpaceX have concern about the double landing for Falcon Heavy? That's why, actually, I think that's why they still to this day stagger the burns a little bit on Falcon 9. One rocket ends up falling a little bit faster than the other. One lands and then the other lands. I think they did that on purpose. But yeah, Antares is cool, but Omega's cooler because bigger rocket good. Yep. Yeah, it turns the whole stack into a giant tuning fork, Rogue Newbie. I have that from an engineer that worked on the external tank program. I talked to an ET engineer at Space Fest, believe it or not. I didn't get to stream it because I don't know if I ever told you guys this story. I was at Space Fest in 2019 and we were getting the Kerbal booth set up. And I needed to test to make sure the controls for Kerbal and everything were working. So I took Collins out for a spin and I launched it. And the guy was walking by when I launched it, and he was like, "Huh, what is that?" I'm like, "Oh, this is Kerbal." And I explained what it does, and he's like, "Oh, you have a shuttle in there." I'm like, "Yeah, I had to make this." So we started talking about external tank dynamics because I was explaining how I had to make the external tank to get the fuel drain stuff right. The guy was like, "Oh, that's really cool." I'm like, "Yeah, it was really difficult." And we were talking about that, and I was like, "What about air?" I asked him, I'm like, "Okay, so what about launching 1 SRB?" He's like, "That, it could have worked. You'd need one hell of a shock absorber in the inner stage, though." And I'm like, "All right, that's doable. Whatever. 5-segment SRB, you got plenty of thrust." Yeah, it was cool. He saw me launching my shuttle, and he was like, "Oh, that's sweet. I worked on external tanks." I'm like, "Really? Let's talk. Let's talk." Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I didn't stream any of it because we were just testing. This was at the beginning of the day on one of the days in Space Fest. But yeah, that was really cool. Did we just become best friends? Yep. Want to go do karate in the garage? Yep. Okay, a little bit of baseball news. Devers hit another home run. Just thought I'd let you know. Yep, solo home run in the first. Okay. Red Sox are currently beating the Yankees, which is very good. That makes me happy. Yeah. That happened to me once. I met a guy that was an F1 mechanic on Nelson Piquet's team. All right, dude. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Come for the space. Stay for the movie quotes. Yeah, that's what I do. All right. What time is it? 7:30. We got a good deal of time here. Let's see. I gotta help Remo out with something. Yeah, Andrew. Rafi's hit a home run like every game for like the past like 20 games or something. Not every game, but yeah, he hits a home run almost every game. It's okay. And the Cubs continue to lose. Yeah. What the hell? Yeah. The Cubs suck right now. They're in like last. Yeah, that's like not good. All right, I gotta help Remo out, and then I was gonna work on MLV stuff, but how about we're talking about going fast and stuff. Let's mess with Kraken drives, shall we? Shall we?